Hey guys, Alex here. I'm walking through London on right in the middle of Storm Dennis. It's not windy too much, but it's raining, as you can see, and I decided, come rain or shine, that I would be doing a video for you and for me. It's been a few, maybe even a couple of weeks since I've done a video recording, and thought this would be a good opportunity to talk about creation. And I know that I've talked about creativity in previous videos, but this is a video for those of you who create stuff, particularly for the web, as a means to get the world to know about who you are and to expand your brand and all that stuff. And this is certainly something that features in my life, which is the creation of content, whether it be writing, videos, podcasts, all that stuff. And I've been off it for a couple of weeks because I'd gotten to a point where I told myself that I couldn't think of anything else to share for the time being, and I needed a bit of time for renewal, a bit of time to let the ideas percolate as a means to benefiting my creative output and my sense of being on top of my ideas and having something that's worth sharing. But what I realized when I very briefly was planning this video, and that I would say, come rain or shine, I'm doing this video, that kind of pointed at the essence of what I want to talk about, which is, doesn't really matter the conditions around why you would want to create. The conditions are there, and your creation happens regardless of the conditions. And actually, the wrong word is regardless. The right word is that the conditions contribute to the creation. So the fact that I'm walking around here in what I would say is very less than favourable conditions, i.e. it's pissing it down with rain, it's cold, I've got my hood on, I can barely hear what I'm saying, and I don't feel like I have that much to share. These are conditions that are contributing to what I'm talking about now. And in that sense, they are very useful conditions. They are ideal conditions. And here's the reality. If you're in the world of creating stuff, every condition can be seen as the ideal condition. Now notice here that I'm riffing. I'm really riffing here, and I don't know what the next sentence is going to be, but this idea of creating out of ideal conditions is really interesting, and it's something that I've bitten onto for this discussion, because very often we as creative people, and I'm talking about the entire human race here, we all create, but we all have this hang up around creating in ideal conditions. Look at this, it's just, I'm in a storm in London and I feel unprepared, I'm not motivated, although I'm getting more motivated as we talk, but my hand is about to fall off from the cold. It's just, most people would say these are less than ideal conditions, but for me, I'm realizing the more I speak, the more ideal I realize this condition is. Because it's showing me, it's showing you that any condition is perfect. Any condition gives you feedback, it gives you information, it gives you data. What's around us? What is this surrounding? What is this weather? What is it all showing me? It's showing me that creation is possible in any environment. It's showing me that a challenging environment is as good an environment as any for creation. Creation is often best and most from the heart when one's surroundings are chaotic and challenging. And not only that, but I want to go back to the whole thing of how I was not creating for a couple of weeks. And yes, there is a time for renewal, but I don't think it needs to go on for particularly long. And if you're like many of the people that I know, including myself sometimes, thinking that you create things, and the best time to create is when you really feel like there's a good idea to come up with. When there's a good idea to share, that's when you need to create it. And so nothing gets done. Nothing happens because you're waiting for that inspiration. You're waiting for that ideal insight to come to mind so that you can then act on it and share it in a way that your audience is going to benefit from the most. And looking back over my life, this has never really been the way it's worked when I've created the best material. The best material comes when I don't think about the conditions, i.e. the surrounding environment is not perfect. And it doesn't need to be perfect, that's the point. It's not about that. It's not about finding the perfect environment, and it's not about finding the perfect moment. It's about doing it. It's about taking action. And another thing I've realized, which is really beautiful, is the idea that the more creative you are, the more stuff you do, the more creative you'll be. And yes, there is a point where a little bit of rest, a little bit of renewal is in order, but this is usually a rest that comes out of thinking too much and associating too much thought to something. It's never usually in relation, I'm walking around in circles here, it's never usually in relation to being overworked or overloading yourself. That's usually an illusion, the fact that we have too much going on. I hear of so many people who say, oh, I'm so busy, I've got tons going on, I can't find the time, I'm just overloaded, overwhelmed. And then you look at their life, and they're spending an hour every evening watching TV. They're getting out of bed, right into the last minute, letting their snooze buttons go off over and over again. They're taking distracted and procrastination breaks throughout the day and not actually doing any real meaningful work. They're huddling around the water cooler, chatting with people. They're not actually overloaded. It's more about a sense of overload that is created in the mind, the illusion of the mind. So what I'm getting at here, I know this is a little bit all over the place, but what I'm getting at is that we have a lot more resource within us to do things, to create, to act than we think. And actually, if you feel that you're running out of ideas, and you feel that the conditions are not ideal, I would drop that thought, because it's just a thought, and rather than think your way out of it and think your way into an excuse, just create anyway. Enjoy the sensation of butting up against discomfort, what I call the void. When you're in the void, you feel like there's nothing. You feel like there's nothing for you. There's no source of creation. There's no source of creativity, and you want to escape, and you want to have something to be distracted by. But actually, the void is the perfect place of birth for new ideas. So just get comfortable in that void, and the more you do it, the more gifts you'll receive from that insight, that place of insight, that place of innate creativity and innate intelligence that runs beneath thought. And you can access that area so much, and there are so many gifts you can get, and there's a huge advantage you can gain by adopting the philosophy of create more to create more. The conditions are never ideal, and actually the conditions are always ideal. Thinking of it paradoxically, every condition is perfect for creating. I was talking to a client the other day who said that he was feeling a sense of burnout and boredom at work, and wanted to escape, wanted to get this need to get out and to try something different, especially after a hard winter's month in the UK. And what we realized was that he had not been including enough play, enough creativity, enough fun in his life, in his day-to-day. And we made a point of more deliberately getting clear about including play and adventure and fun into his life in the form of daily adventures that he would take in his lunch break. Rather than sitting at his desk eating food in a static position, he would go out on an adventure, a fun walk or a hike in his area, and treat it as fun, treat it as an opportunity for allowing that creative insight to flow up. And in doing that, and just changing one's perspective from, I'm stuck, I'm bored, I want to escape, to what can I make use of right here? Like this, I'm in the middle of a storm, I'm soaked, but I'm having fun because I've changed my perspective from how do I get myself out of the storm and into comfort, to how can I get myself into the storm, into adventure, into movement and motion, out of my mind and into the creative and documenting process. And in doing so, I've managed to make a video here for my portfolio, for my adoring viewers, that is going to benefit you guys, that otherwise would never have been made had I thought to myself, oh, the conditions aren't right, it's too cold, it's too wet, this is not video weather. I mean, look at this. The screen is covered in water. It's just, it's not ideal, but at the same time, it's absolutely perfect because this adds flavor to life, to the experience of what I'm sharing with you. It adds a roughness and an energy and a spontaneity to this that is going to be more interesting than someone sitting down having scripted out a video. Oh, it just got covered in water by a passing vehicle. It's going to add, I hope, something to you because there's a story, there's a context in it, and there's a chaos to this that is lacking in a clinically set up room with a camera. Although I sometimes do that too, and that's all right. And sometimes it can help to have an outline and a bit of clarity, but there's also room for rough around the edges flavor to a video. And this is really what brings us back to the beginning of what I was talking about, which was that we have an inner resource of creativity that is there for us, and it's okay to do things when you don't feel like doing them, and it's okay and actually beneficial and will inspire and will add flavor and vulnerability and authenticity to the creative work that is going to be more interesting to the viewer, to the recipient. So every time is perfect, and see what that moment, see what the context is teaching you as you deliver what it is you're sharing. I hope that made sense, guys. If you've got any questions, write them down in the old comment section below. I've got a lot of interesting videos coming out. I mean, just by giving this video, I've created the seed for several other videos, just through speaking it, through creating this out of nothing. And I can assure you that before this video started, I had very little idea of what I was going to say, and I've done a few of these before. And I want to inspire you to create, regardless of the sense of chaos, vulnerability, and precariousness that you find yourself in. If you feel like you're lacking creativity, now's the perfect time to create. Go out and create. Much love.